Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about how to grow your own organic, nutrient-rich food. One of my favorite topics, talking about growing your own food. And you know what's funny, and this is coming from somebody who does not really have a green thumb. So we're going to talk about some simple ways that you can grow your own food even if you do not have a green thumb. Now, growing your own food, what I love about it is it allows you to control the cost and the quality of your food. Now, growing your own food is fun, cost-effective, healthier, and better for the environment. Big farms right now are not good for the environment. There is so many chemicals and pesticides and herbicides and reusing of soil and single crops and all this sort of stuff that honestly I don't even know. I'm not an expert, but there's just so much that goes into it that is really not only hurting our health, but our environment as well. So what do you do if you don't have the space or live where there's a short growing season like I do here in Canada? Well, there is a solution. You grow with the tower garden, the home version or the flex version. So let's talk a little bit about the tower. Now, the tower garden allows you to easily grow your own fresh, nutrient-dense food without soil because it uses water enriched with earth and sea minerals. Now, the home version is a brand new one, and it's great for growing greens and herbs indoors. The flex version, which I have 3 of them. This can be used indoors, outdoors to grow lots and lots of different stuff, and we'll talk about what those are shortly. Now, the tower garden allows you to grow plants 3 times faster than traditional gardening. It has an increased yield by 30%, and you get very nutrient-dense, colorful produce because you're using earth and soil minerals. And you have control over your food, it tastes better, and it helps nurture healthy habits. Now, we've got a next door neighbor who started eating whose grandson started eating kale, which he never had before, off of my tower garden because he says it tastes so good, and it does. It's not as bitter. Now, you can really minimize the learning curve of growing and the time commitment by growing plants in only water rather than dirt. So, because the tower garden is what's called an aeroponic growing system. So the water and nutrients are delivered to the plants automatically. So there's no digging and no weeding involved. And you cut down on your grocery bills. The tower garden literally pays for itself in about 6 to 12 months, depending on how much you grow. It is so cost effective. Now, you can really eat smarter with the tower garden, and it's better for the environment. So it uses 10% of the land and as little as 2% of the water needed for traditional growing. It recycles 100% of the nutrients in water. So you see that picture to the right there. You'll notice that the water is kind of bubbling. This is the top of the tower garden. And what it does is there is a pump that pushes the water through the center of the tower, and then it comes up to the center and it waters down on all of the plants and the roots. It leaves a smaller carbon footprint in eliminating supermarket transit and storage. So it's literally tower to table. And reduces the need for pesticides and herbicides, right? You don't have to use these sorts of things on healthy plants because they have a better protective mechanism. It's kind of like our body. We have an immune system and a body that is designed to protect itself. But we go ahead and pump all these chemicals and medications and stuff in us thinking that human beings know better. Well, got news for you. Nature knows best. So here's 10 reasons to start a tower garden. So really, it costs about $1.50 a day for a year, and then it's yours forever. I have 3 of them, and I've had all 3 of them for 10 years, and there is no sign that I'll be retiring them anytime soon. So it is made with a food-grade plastic, so it keeps it a little bit lighter to move around, and it won't leach chemicals into your produce. It has a double UV protective coating, which will last in the sunshine forever. It uses less than 10% of the water of conventional gardening, which we talked about already. Includes all the tools and supplies that you need to get started. Fewer ground pest problems. When you have it inside, there's really no pests at all. You can grow a garden in half the time of a conventional garden. Uses no harmful fertilizers, pesticides, or herbicides. No weeding, which saves you a ton of time. And I love this. I check on my tower garden once a week. Just do a quick little check. Trim the weeds or trim the roots back, maybe check the water, and my gardening is done. It's perfect. And the food that comes off of it is more nutritious and vine-ripened produce than traditional gardening. Or not even traditional gardening, I should say commercial gardening. So what can you grow in the tower garden? So see this picture here, and I love using this picture because this is actually a tower garden farm. So people actually have businesses where they have tower garden farms, and look at the produce you can grow. Look at those beautiful red peppers in the background, or the one to the right where it's the basil tower. Oh, I just love it. So you can grow so many things. So here is just a basic example. So you would ideally, when you're planting a tower, you would plant basil, cilantro, dill, mint, parsley, kind of your herbs at the top. And then in the middle, you could have arugula, chard, kale, any sort of lettuce, mustard greens. Mustard greens are so good in salads. I've been actually picking mustard greens wild lately, which has been super fun. And on the bottom, you'd plant cucumbers, green beans, peppers, tomatoes, zucchini, all of those things that are a little bit more viney. Now, I'm showing you these two here because I love this. So basically, it's a recipe for the tower garden. There's 2 recipes here for the tower garden. So if you're somebody who loves to eat salads, then you would plant some of these things: celery, chard, arugula, spinach, amaranth, broccoli, cucumbers, all sorts of things. And then if you're kind of more of a chef style, maybe you're going to add cilantro and leeks and sage and peppers and eggplant even, and cucumber. So you'll notice how big of an array that you can actually grow in the tower. It's really endless. So basically, as long as it's not a root vegetable, you can grow it in the tower. Now you might be asking, is the tower garden only for my home? Because I see so many different ways that I could actually place a tower garden, and it's true. The tower garden is for the family, for your community, and also as a great business. So you can grow up to 84 plants at once with a family tower garden. Now, family tower garden is actually considered 3 towers, and this is how I got started with my tower garden little hobby here, is that my mom gracefully purchased a family tower, so one for all 3 of us, my sister, me, and her, and I ended up inheriting them. So I was lucky to get all 3, and I have them still to this day, 10 years later. The community garden is made up of 12 tower gardens, and this one's perfect for communities. Let's say you know a couple of schools that might like one, or restaurants that like to grow a lot of their own produce, maybe nonprofit organizations and other community organizations like Boys and Girls Clubs or something like that. And for those who are forward-thinking farmerpreneurs, many people can make a living while making a difference with a tower farm. So if your brain is kind of turning like mine did when I first heard this, reach out to me, because there is so much that you can do in your community with the tower garden. So many people have actually brought tower gardens into the classroom. So it's really cool because students learn how to grow their own food. And what's neat about the tower is that there's no gardening experience required. You can grow it indoor all year round with the grow lights. It engages students to help them grow confidence and foster independence when it comes to them taking care of themselves and their food. And it's a hands-on project-based learning, which is really cool. And they can grow where they're actually learning. It's really, really neat. Now, there are lesson plans and learning materials that have actually been developed for tower gardens. So if you know a school, maybe your children go to school, or you've got one in your community that you think that might like to do this, then again, reach out. Love to chat about that for sure. So here's a picture of me with my tower garden. This actually is one that I had outside this year. Like, look at that. So I started all those plants inside in September, and then by March, April, May, by June, after May long weekend, I had put it outside, and it had grown that big inside. So pretty cool. Now, you don't need it to grow that big. I just didn't trim it back enough. There's only 2 of us in the household, and we just can't eat it fast enough. So usually with one tower garden, you can feed an entire family. I know with 2 of us, we also feed our neighbors, and anytime I go somewhere, my friends are getting a bag of lettuce, right? Basically, anytime I go. Now, there's other ways you can grow your food. There is sprouting and all sorts of different things that you can do. So again, I'm happy to have these conversations, but start doing some research, looking into that, and start with the basics and start simple. All right, so your challenge today is to think about what foods you would like to grow, because I really do encourage you to start growing, even if it's something simple as a sprout. I want you to make a plan on what you're going to do to start growing your own food. Maybe it is plant in a pot. You plant in a garden, or you choose to purchase your own tower garden and get started that way. So what I'd love to see is you post food you've grown in the Facebook group. Let's share our beautiful and delicious homegrown food with each other. And I want you to check in and tag someone in the Facebook group. Tag somebody who you feel is rocking it, and tag somebody who you feel may need a little bit of help and support. So until next time, keep growing your food. Talk to you soon.